Peace and gratitude, Reverend Dr. Kamara Falade Banderanwa here, and now we're going to get into the evidence of the neighborhood block club president harassing me and bullying me and intimidating me and threatening my life. All right, so today is Saturday, July 26, 2025. So my prayer and intention is to stick to the facts. I'm going to stick to the facts. Stick to the facts. No, I don't want to make emotional assumptions. I'm just here to stick to the facts. And because through her actions, the neighborhood block club president invited me into her story. She invited me as a character in her story, and I'm going to tell my part of the story with evidence and facts, not with emotionalism and not with assumptions and not with mean girl behavior, with facts. All right. So I'm not going to use the pointer because I've had to start this video over several times and because I'll mistakenly hit the arrow and it just messes up the recording. So, all right, so look at this video. Look at this picture. So this is what my backyard looked like. And in the city of Detroit, you get tickets if you have overgrown foliage on your fence line. You have to keep the fence line clear. So as you can see, where that light pole is when I purchased the house, I didn't have a fence line where it shows where my backyard ended and where the alley for the city began. So if you can see from this picture in my backyard goes right into the city alley, Where that light pole is where a fence should be. I should have a fence there, and that would show that that's where my property ends and the alley begins. Okay, so you can see the garage. That's the neighbor's garage in their backyard, and behind it is the city alley. So while I had elicited the help where I had asked my nephew and his friend to come and help me. So they were working on one fence line and I was working on another. I was working on this one that you see pictured, and this was on May 18th, 2025 on a Sunday morning. Okay. So the neighborhood block club president, now I'm going to tell you this. When you see the video, of course, you're not going to physically see her throwing the piece of wood over the fence. And I can understand why this did not go to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, because it's all circumstantial. They would consider this circumstantial because you cannot see her physically doing it. Even though I have a camera facing my backyard, you can see the piece of wood coming over the fence, but the way that the camera is positioned, you can't see her doing it. The reason why I know it was her doing it, because I was the one clearing that fence line. I saw her behind the garage. She spoke to me. She called me a scary ass. I know her voice. So I know it was her, but because it's not clearly seen on video, I totally get the law. I totally get that, it's gonna be a he say she say. It's not an open and shut case, and so it's really nothing that the prosecutor's office can really do. The detective took my statement, but it's really not much they can do because it's not just clear cut proof. So at this point, it's just a paper trail. It's just evidence. It's just a paper trail. So on this particular Sunday, I'm clearing the fence line, and she goes because she has a relationship. She goes into the neighbor's backyard and goes behind the garage, and I can hear her moving, and then I saw her, and I kept doing what I was doing. She calls me a scary ass, but in my mind, I'm thinking, but you're the one that's behind a garage in the city's alley with a bunch of overgrown weeds hiding, but I'm a scary ass throwing things at me. That's and saying that I'm a scary ass, but you're behind a garage with overgrown weeds calling me a scary ass. And then you're throwing things at me over the fence. That's what I'm thinking. So, well, that's what I was thinking after it all happened. I'm clearing the fence line, and I hear, she speaks to me. She says, "Scary ass." I see her, and I hear the movement. But the camera doesn't pick all that up clearly because you're hiding behind the garage. So you went into another neighbor's backyard to call me a scary ass and throw things at me. So this is what I was clearing on that day. This is what I was in the backyard doing, clearing that fence line. So I'm going to go to the next slide and show you the video. So I can't, because this is live. Oh, yes, I can. So let me push play. It may be hard to see, but I'm push play. Okay, you see me walking. That's me walking. You can see on the left side, you see my nephew and his friend clearing that fence line. So let me see if it'll allow me to play it again. You see me walking, and you see the piece of wood that flew over the fence. Let me play it again. I'm going to play it one more time. Okay, so you see the piece of wood fly over the fence. Now, like I already said, I can see why the police won't push the case forward, because you don't physically see her doing it because the angle of my camera. Um, but clearly you can see the piece of wood flying over the fence. That did not fall from the tree. I'm gonna play it again. Okay, you see it. So also, and I know it's all because you don't physically see her doing it, but I'm not going to show you the other videos because, like I said, it's all, a lawyer would look at that and be like, we don't have a case because it's going to be your word against her word. We don't physically see her doing it, but the Ring camera shows her where at that morning her husband is out cutting the lawn. He's out cutting the grass, and she walks toward the neighbor's house, the backyard that she went in, because she went into the backyard of the neighbor whose garage that belongs to. So you on the video, the camera in the front of my home picks up, you can tell that he's asking her where is she going, and she just points in the direction of the neighbor's house on the other side of me. And then you can see her, my camera picks her up going into the backyard. Now, this is all circumstantial. I get it from a lawyer's point of view. So what's she going in the backyard? You don't know, exactly why she's going in the backyard. You don't know what she's doing. You don't know if the neighbor gave her permission to go in the backyard. All of the questions which are correct that a lawyer would ask. So I get it. This is just more stuff building my case. So it's just more of a paper trail. So, and also the cameras pick her up um leaving the backyard and talking to the police, because I called the police, and as she's exiting the backyard, um that you can see her talking to the police. She's talking to the police. As the police is pulling up that I call, she actually waves at the police. She speaks to the police speaks to her. Um, because I guess at that moment both of them don't realize that he doesn't realize like um shh, be quiet, Ginger. Okay, I apologize for the dog. So so when so the cameras show her entering the neighbor's backyard and it shows her exiting the neighbor's backyard. um Yeah, but I understand that all that's circumstantial because, like I said, a lawyer could be like, "Well, you don't know why she was back there. The neighbor, the neighbor could have invited her back there. Like it's all circumstantial at this point." But the fact that I saw her with my own two eyes, that she spoke to me, I know her voice, like I know it was her. But I get the legal aspect of it. Like I get it. Like I understand the legal aspect of it's a very hard case to prove because she can lie and say it wasn't me. I was back there talking to the neighbor. Like it's not even worth, using taxpayers' money to it because there is no direct, just clear cut proof that this is what she did. That she was the one that did it, even though I saw it with my own two eyes. So I get it. So I share that with you. So these are the steps that I took in order to resolve the situation. So the report number is 2505180156. I made a police report that day. Okay, on February, no, this was something different. So I even called on, let's see, I'm looking at my notes. On Monday, May 19th, which was the next day, I even reached out to the problem solvers of Fox 2 News because I was like, okay, we going on. Okay, I apologize about the dog again. So I reached out to Fox 2 problem solvers on Monday, May 19th, the day after it happened, because um I wanted to, because I was like, okay, this is going on almost 3 years, and we're still having this problem. So maybe if I bring attention to it to the media, um, maybe they can get involved. Maybe they can put some fire underneath the police department. Like, if I show them all the times that I reached out to them and still nothing, um, I was like, something has got to be done. So basically, I was told I talked to a woman by the name of Kay. I'm not gonna say that. I'm just only gonna use initials, Kay, and she just said, it's nothing that they could do. That they couldn't arrange mediation, none of that. Like none of that. Um, it was just nothing that they could do to help me. Because it was more of a legal issue. And at the time, it didn't occur to me that if I had said, well, this woman is the neighborhood block club president, and she's acting this way, how can I feel safe if she's supposed to be, my neighborhood block club president, and she's treating me this way? It didn't occur to me to present it in that matter. But anyway, So on that date, I called I called Fox 2 Problem Solvers, and that was their response. She did say, Miss K did say that I could try to reach out to the Wayne Mediation, because they handle landlord tenant cases, and they help mediate landlord tenant cases, and maybe they could help me with mediation. And she gave me a number. I called them and I didn't get an answer. I called them twice, and I did not receive an answer. So I just, with that particular avenue, I stopped. I was like, okay, this is, I reached out to them. I didn't get, they couldn't help me. So I was like, okay, I'm done with them. All right. So then on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, I decided I was going to file a personal protection order against the Neighborhood Block Club president, because you're throwing wood at me, you're attempting to physically harm me. So I received immediately on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, I received the email, and the email stated that I could not file a PPO on top of a PPO, because currently I have a PPO against her. And so basically he was like, you can't have two PPOs out on a person. You got to let one expire, and then you can either extend it or you have to file another one. And I'll tell you about the one that I have currently in a different video. So he told me, because I haven't officially served her yet, and because of the issues surrounding the first time I had a PPO with her and serving her. And I'll get into that when we talk about that PPO. So he told me that I could do a motion for alternate service, meaning that I can petition the court and find a different way of serving her. Okay, so that was another way I attempted to address the problem or the issue with her throwing a piece of wood at me over the fence. So the detective calls me on Tuesday, May 20th at 10:43 a.m. We talked for about almost an hour. She took my statement. She asked me, how did all this start? What initiated the problem between the neighbor and I? I gave her all of that information, and she just said the next time, call the police out, and also call the mental health unit out, because from her, based on her opinion, it was based on what I told her and how long this has been going on. She said maybe it could be some mental health. She said, so the next time when you call 911, she said, call out the mental health unit as well. So I said, okay. So that was another step I took, and that was the answer and the resolution to it. So then, and she also told me, because this was Detective S, she also told me that to talk to the neighborhood police, because she was going to forward the information to the neighborhood police officers. So I noticed in Detroit, what they try to do is, before it escalates into something criminal, where now charges are being filed, that they attempt to do mediation, and they have a mediation unit, and it's called the neighborhood police, and they will come and talk to the two parties involved in order to resolve it, so it doesn't escalate into something criminal. Now, mind you, I had already established a relationship with the neighborhood police officer back when she was harassing me and vandalizing my house back in 2023, and I'll share that later. So I reached back out to the person who I've already established a relationship with. So I reached out to him, Officer E. So I reached out to him and we finally were able to talk to each other on 9:50 a.m. on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. I was able to uh, talk to him on the phone at 9:50 a.m. on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. And I said, can we have a face-to-face meeting? He said, absolutely. He said, my sergeant and I will reach out to her and we'll ask her, if she's willing to do that, and we'll get back with you. So I said, okay. Now this was the holiday weekend, so I knew that, okay, I would have to wait for a response. So I reached out back to the neighborhood police officer, Officer E, on Friday, May 30th, 2025. I was able to finally talk to him on the phone. Now I had called him that same day at 10:50. No, I called him on Wednesday, May 28th, 2025 at 10:58 a.m. and there was no answer. And I left a message and I figured he probably was on vacation because it was the Memorial Day weekend. So I said he probably on vacation. So I reached back out on Friday, May 30th, 2025 at 10:48 a.m. and he picked up the phone and he did confirm. He was like, yeah, I was on vacation. I was like, I figured you were because of the holiday weekend. So I asked him, I said, were you able to reach out to her? And he said yes. He said that she said no. This is what Officer E told me. He said we reached out to her, my sergeant reached out to her, and she said that she did not want to talk to me, talking about me, and she did not want to talk to the police. She had nothing to say. She didn't have nothing to say. I said, okay, thank you for sharing. He said, just keep calling the police. And he was like, don't engage with her, don't interact with her, just keep calling the police. But she is not interested in mediation. This is what I was told on Friday, May 30th, 2025. Okay? So, now that you know that, so if you're not interested, now let me go to the next slide and I'm going to wrap this up. All right? If this is the piece of wood that was thrown over the fence at me, if you're not interested in mediation, you don't have anything to say. Why is it on, oh, I didn't write the date on here. Oh, here it is. Why is it on July 16th, 2025, you called out the city of Detroit to take a picture of my fence line? Because mind you, I was clearing the fence line in May. So clearly things have grown back. But because you're throwing wood over the fence and threatening me and putting my physical person in danger, how is it that you're calling the city of Detroit to take a picture of my fence line so I can get another ticket, but when I was out there clearing the fence line, you were attempting to harm me. So why would I go back in my backyard when you've already shown me that you're going to harm me? You're going to throw things over the fence. But yet you're going to call on me and saying that I'm not keeping my fence line clean. But when I go back there, you're throwing things to harm me. And then when I go to attempt to mediate with you and figure out what's going on and resolve the problem between you and I, you don't have nothing to say. You clearly said you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk to me nor the police. But yet you want to call and get me a ticket. because I'm not keeping my fence line clear. But how can I keep my fence line clear when you're attempting to harm me physically by throwing dangerous objects at me? And that's going to be the end of this evidence before I get into the other evidence. So you can see, you all, I got dates, time, people I talked to, notes about what was said. I attempted to resolve this situation in 1, 2, 3 ways. I called the detective. She called me and took my statement. I talked to the neighborhood police. That was the second way. I called Fox 2 problem solvers. That was number 3. And I attempted to get a third PPO out on you. So 4 ways I attempted to solve this problem. And I just told you all everything that I was told. So that's this evidence. So come back for the next part of the video to show you the other things that the Neighborhood Block Club president has done to me. But yet I'm attempting to resolve. I'm problem solving. But yet when she is asked to engage in the problem solving process, she refuses to. But yet you're making it seem like I'm dirtying up the neighborhood. I'm not keeping the neighborhood clean. I'm not in compliance. But you all saw the video. You saw me back there with help, making my property in compliance, but yet you're throwing dangerous objects over the fence. So how am I supposed to keep my property in compliance when you're threatening my physical life? All right, stay tuned for the next video.